All right, thank you, Mr. Houlihan. Jeff Kender from Phelps, Kentucky, Pike County in Eastern Kentucky. Thanks for coming.
I'm happy to be here. I'm a 40-year-old single father. I'm a United Steelworker. I presently work at a factory right now. I'm a former teacher, former security guard, former janitor, former fast food worker, former landscaper, former construction worker. You name it, I've pretty well done it. And that's why we call our campaign the Common Man Campaign. I've got in this race because the people want a common person just like them representing them in the United States Senate. And people of Louisville and people all over Kentucky, you've got your candidate in me. We're the Common Man Campaign, and we're fighting for the people of Kentucky. Thank you.
Jeff, thank you. Ron. All right, thank you to the 6 of you for your introductions. Asking the questions tonight, WHAS11's political editor, Chris Williams, the Courier-Journal's chief political reporter, Joe Girth, and WHAS11's Renee Murphy. We're also going to have questions from Simmons College students. They are here in the studio with us tonight. Each candidate has 45 seconds to respond. Now, Jim Gray opened first, so Chris Williams will ask Rory Houlihan the very first question tonight. Chris.
First question, maybe the obvious one on the minds of many in Kentucky. Why do you think you can beat Rand Paul?
Jeff Kender, you get to answer the same question.
I am the only candidate that can beat Rand Paul. There's a couple things that me and Rand Paul agree on. We are both pro-Second Amendment, and we both have an all-above energy approach. And he also says don't lock people up for small amounts of marijuana, and I'll just say go ahead and legalize it. Jim Gray is the establishment pig. He has no chance. Ron Lee Trump for Congress in 2014, lost by nearly 40 points. Celeste Wilder's the environmentalist. He has no shot. You're going to have to be able to reach the middle and get the crossover vote. And I know that I can reach over and get the crossover vote. I'm a pro-union candidate, and I am a union member myself, so we're going to get that vote in November also.
Thank you, Mr. Kender. Ron. Joe Girth, and the question goes first to Jeff Kender.
Mr. Kender, Democrats have a damaged brand in Kentucky. We've seen that with losses in several Senate races, the governor's race. As the state skews more and more conservative, we've got Bernie Sanders pushing Democrats nationally more to the left. How do you differentiate yourself from the national Democrats, or do you need to win this race?
I consider myself an old school Democrat, FDR, JFK, LBJ Democrat. I'm for a war on poverty, not a war on drugs. I think we need to create jobs and not just sit and have gridlock in Washington. But I'm not all gun-ho on the Second Amendment like our national party leaders are in Washington. And also I have an all-the-above energy approach. And I'm the only candidate on the stage tonight that's been talking about having a hemp industry. Hemp produces over 25,000 objects. 1 acre of hemp produces as much paper as 4 acres of trees, so that's pretty green to me.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Ron Lee.
I chose to run back in November. I was tired of going to my friends' home and seeing that they had nothing to eat, and hearing them talk about not having no money to buy their kids anything for Christmas. I'm in this war to fight for everyone, the working people, and just everyone out there in Kentucky. And we need someone that isn't holding to special interest and doesn't get their money from big donors. Just a common, regular person. That's what I am. But poverty and the war on the middle class and watching my friends move off and not have heat and not have electricity, that was one of my reasons for getting into this race.
All right, 3.
My question is, historically, members of the African American community have voted and overwhelmingly supported the Democratic Party. Do you believe the Democratic Party takes this support for granted? If not, how would you balance the needs of the African American community with that of the Democratic Party if there's a separation of the two?
My son is biracial, so my son is half white, half black. You can use the term African American if you want to, but I don't look over here and call my opponents Swedish American or Irish American. I just say white, black. I think there's always going to be a racial problem from time to time, but from what I found in Kentucky with my ex-in-laws, who were all black, when I lived in St. Louis for a couple months with them, I was the only white guy in the neighborhood. But it's usually how you treat people. We don't always need to be going making policies and laws, but we always need to treat everyone with dignity. But yes, they do take the black vote for granted.
Ron Leach.
There's all kinds of things that we can do, but first we got to educate our children and have education as our top priority, and that also goes for vocational training. So if someone wants to move industry in here, they have the workers that they're looking for. We need infrastructure all over our country. Our roads and bridges are crumbling. If you look at Lexington and you look at Center Point, there's a hole that's been there for 6 years, and this man over here telling me that he's a job creator. Jobs has increased all over our cities in the past 7 years. There's nobody on this panel that's a job creator. I go to job and I work at a job 12 hours a day. And Center Point is a disaster, Mayor Gray. Disaster.
Ron Leach.
A recent article by James Grant in Time magazine that has been controversial recommended that every American citizen would have to pay $42,988.12 to raise the $13.9 trillion U.S. debt. Now, those numbers have been debated, but how do you propose the U.S. Senate address the national debt?
Thank you. Jeff Kender.
Well, being represented by people like Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul, we never will get any infrastructure in the United States. So everyone might as well forget about that with their voice leading the Senate. We do have to build, but why not tax companies that ship jobs overseas? And why not tax our millionaires and our billionaires a little bit more? The guys that fund some people's campaigns. Why don't we do that? We do have to build our way out. We do have to invest in infrastructure. But we are to penalize companies for shipping jobs overseas. How American is that? And then usually some of them like GE and some others don't even pay no income tax. That's despicable.
Mr. Leach.
About finding economic opportunities for coal miners as the economy moves toward cleaner sources of energy. Hillary Clinton said, we're going to put a lot of coal miners and coal companies out of business. Do you see a future in the coal industry in Kentucky, and if so, what is it?
Unlike Rand Paul, I tell all my friends in eastern Kentucky, where I'm from, that I cannot promise them coal jobs, and I can't tell you that coal's going to be here forever. I can tell you that it's still over 40% of our nation's electricity, and still over 90% of Kentucky's energy comes from coal. So that's not going away tomorrow. But I think with we could do something with the hemp industry. There's all kinds of land and everything. Just saying we're going to train the miners, that don't give people jobs. People are losing jobs right now. People are losing their homes. This is real. And none of my opponents will say that the EPA has overreached any. Not one of them. So when they come to Eastern Kentucky this Saturday, they need to tell the miners that the EPA has done nothing wrong to them, because they'll hear from them.
Mr. Leach.
We're getting more questions in, and one person wrote in to say only 30% turnout in the governor's race. How will you get out the vote to unseat Senator Rand Paul?
I think that people's going to want to elect a common person just like them. I haven't been a mayor like this guy has for 6 years, or on a council, and like some of these guys has. I'm just a regular, everyday Joe. You know, I'm a single dad, grandson of coal miners myself. I work 2 jobs to get myself through school, and like I said, I'm running this campaign while working 12-hour shifts at a factory, and I am a United Steelworker. I'm going to defeat Rand Paul because he wants to raise the retirement age to 70, and he's for means testing Social Security, and we're going to get him on economic kitchen table issues. I know there's kitchen table issues, believe me. Well, I got a lot of values that I stand for, and a lot of things that I stand for, and I can tell you that I would fight like crazy, and I would be the unordinary senator. I would just try to control my temper from what I see going on in Washington, because sometimes you just look and you just scream at your TV. You're like, You know, really? You wonder how the person walks and chews bubble gum at the same time, much less becomes a United States Senator. So I would probably raise a little cane when I got to the Senate and tell them to get their butt to work and get to work for the people that are paying their salary. And that's why I was the first candidate, and maybe the only candidate, I don't know, but I signed for term limits. We got to get rid of the career politicians, and that's the only way is term limits.
All right, John.
Other than a spouse or significant other, who do you listen to for political advice?
Chris Matthews, hardball.
If elected, your number one priority when you get to Washington?
Just tell you, if it's still a Republican-controlled Senate, Mitch McConnell's going to hate me. I'm just going to be in there fighting for all the democratic values that we believe in.
Jim Gray.
Do you believe in clean coal technology?
Yes, it can be a bridge to the future, and it does exist, but it's a bridge.
Ron.